Hey, what's up guys? Hope you are doing well. Today we'll see how we can ensure that footer is placed at the bottom of the page where it belongs, even if the content is too short to naturally push it down to the bottom of the viewport. Let's go! Okay, this is our starting point to empty files, the HTML and the CSS file. In the HTML file, I type exclamation mark, CSS abbreviation, hit tab or enter, and we get some HTML5 boilerplate code to begin with. Title is keeping footer at the bottom, and let's link the document to the external CSS file. Okay, here we are, and let's proceed to the body. Body will be divided into three main parts: the header, the main, and the footer. And let's add some content to each part. Header will contain an H1 heading, let's say my website, and a paragraph with some slogan, let's say probably the best website in the world. Don't know if this reminds you of something. Main will contain the main content of our page, and let's suppose we are talking about a blog or a news website, so it would make sense to use an article tag. And let's just paste some content here. So an article will have a title, a subtitle, and some paragraphs. We don't know beforehand the number of articles and their length, but in any case we want to ensure that footer will be kept at the bottom of the page. Now let's include footer content into a paragraph. Copyright. This is the HTML name code for the copyright symbol. 2019 coding journey. And although this is not the main objective of this video, I can't resist the urge of replacing the hard-coded current year with JavaScript, since as programmers we like automating things that can be automated. I wouldn't like to have to come back next year and manually refresh the current year. So let's use the script tag in order to be able to insert JavaScript. Document.write in order to write the expression in the parentheses to the document. And what we want is the current year. For this purpose, we'll use the new date to get the current date. And in order to extract the current year, we'll use the get full year method. And that's all with the HTML markup. Let's see what we've created up to this point. I'm using the live server VS Code extension to open the project. Okay, this is the header, this is the main part, and this is the footer. Nice, let's move on to CSS. For starters, let's remove default margin and padding for all elements. And let's also set the box sizing property to border box instead of the default content box. Nice. And now for the body, let's set font family to this one, Arial, and background color to F1, F1, F1. It's a very light gray, almost white, but not exactly. And now for the header, let's align everything to the center. Set the background color to 333, dark gray. Color white, and let's also add some padding, let's say 50 pixels. Nice. Next, we'll set font size for the header, H1 and paragraph, and also add some margin. I will just paste this part to save some time. And now for the main, let's give it a width of 90% of viewport width. And let's align it to the center horizontally by setting the left and right margin to auto. And let's also add some padding, top and bottom 30 pixels, and left and right 20 pixels. Now I will just paste the article related styling. Since this is just placeholder content, I will of course include a link in the description to this project. And finally, the footer styling will be very similar to the header. We'll just use padding 20 pixels instead of 50. Okay, you can see the problem here. Footer is hanging somewhere in the middle of the page instead of being at the bottom. One way to solve this would be by setting a minimum height for the main part, so that if content is smaller than the minimum height, then minimum height will be applied. Otherwise, if the content is larger than the minimum height, then minimum height property has no effect. And we'll use the calc CSS function in order to calculate the value of minimum height property for the main element. So minimum height is equal to 100 viewport height minus the height of the header and the footer elements. And let's use the dev tools in order to get the exact height. For header it is 211 pixels. And for the footer, it is 58 pixels. Very nice, and that's all actually, but let's make some more testing. So if for example we didn't have any content, then footer would still be at the bottom. Let's add some more content. Looks nice. Okay. Now, although browser support for the calc function is already pretty good, currently covers around 90% of global usage, there still may be some problems with Internet Explorer. So let's provide a cross-browser solution without using the calc function. For this purpose, we will absolutely position the footer relative to the body. And we want to position footer at the bottom, so let's set bottom to 0, width to 100%. Notice that footer is placed on top of the content, and for this purpose we would like to add some padding to the bottom of the body equal to the footer's height, which is 58 pixels, so that it doesn't affect the content. So padding bottom 58 pixels. And finally, we want to ensure that height for the body will be at least 100% of viewport height, and we've seen this before. Min height 100 viewport height. Very nice. Let's test. So if we remove the content. Footer is still at the bottom, and let's add some content. Okay. And that's all basically. Now, if you wanted a sticky footer, or in other words, a footer which has a fixed position relative to the viewport and therefore it is always visible, instead of using position absolute here, you should rather use position fixed. This is not needed now, since fixed elements are positioned relative to the viewport and not relative to some ancestor element. This is also not necessary. We still need the padding. So let's save and test. Looks fine up to this point. If we remove content, still looks okay. Let's add some content. Indeed, footer is fixed at the bottom of the page and it is still visible even when the page is scrolled. And depending on what you have on your page, you might also want to add a Z index value for the footer, 1 or 10 or whatever, in order to ensure that footer is on top of other elements. Okay guys, that's all. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video and got some value out of it. For any questions, suggestions, or just to say hi, please use the comment section below. Hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe if you want more. Till next time, keep coding, keep improving, and enjoy the journey. Take care. Bye.